Okay, let's begin. Just one second. Okay, fine. Okay, just one second. Let me check. Audio. Yeah, fine. So if there's any network issue anytime, just let me know. Or if you have any queries and all, you can stop me in between and yeah, ask your queries. Yeah. So let's begin. So today we'll be looking at something called mechanism design. Okay. So till now, like sort of we were looking at game theory, and so today we'll be looking at mechanism design. So sort of what's the difference between both of them? Okay. So in game theory, so you have a game, and you were bothered with what the outcome will be. Okay. So this is what game theory was more or less bothered about. Okay. Now, what mechanism design is, you have an outcome. Okay. So, you basically you have like you want a particular outcome to happen, and for that, you basically sort of design a game. Okay. So that you get this particular outcome. So that's what is written here. So game theory is nothing but strategic interaction between individuals in a given game, and we want to know what's the outcome. And mechanism design is like how do we design a game to obtain a certain outcome. Okay. So let us have a look, like get an idea of what mechanism design is with the help of this cake cutting example. Okay. So suppose you have a mother, and she has two children. Okay. And she has to divide this cake among these two children. Okay. Now suppose if the mother divides the cake into two parts. Okay. Okay. So what is our aim? Uh, Divide the cake into two parts such that both children are sort of happy. Okay. So when will the children be happy? When they believe that they have got the 50% of the piece, and other has also got 50% of the piece. So if a children believes that he or she got a smaller portion, then the children won't be happy. Now suppose, say, let us look at one strategy. Say strategy one. Say mother divides the cake into two parts. Now, why this strategy won't be good is that both the children may think that the pieces are not cut in equal halves, and the other guy got the better half. Okay. Even if the pieces are cut in equal half, the children might think that no, 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 my piece is smaller than the other. Then what is the strategy which you will take in order to divide the cake into two parts? Okay. So consider this strategy two. So consider this strategy two. First, you ask, say, you ask the girl to divide the cake into two pieces, and the in the second step, you ask the boy to choose a piece. Now, why will this strategy work? Now, think from this girl's perspective. She knows that the boy will choose a piece. Okay, first. So the boy will be the one who will be choosing the piece first. So according to her, if she divides the cake into equal half, okay, like 50% and 50%, then she will be happy because whatever piece the boy takes, she will get 50%. Now, why the boy will be happy? The boy will be happy because it gets to choose the piece first. So according to him, he'll be choosing a better piece as per himself. So in this way, both the boy and girl are happy. So in this way, we have achieved the aim, and the mother has successfully divided two pieces into the children. So, so this is sort of a like very good example to sort of give you an idea what mechanism design is. So you want an outcome, and for that you sort of make some rules. Basically, you make some rules that if you do this, this will happen and all, and then the players will play according to that, and you will get your desired outcome. So that's the thing. So is there any query till now? You can even you can even type in the chat section also if you want. If not, then I can proceed. Yeah. So if not, then I'll just proceed. So okay. Now I don't know whether you guys know about 0-1 knapsack problem or not, but that's a very simple problem. Okay. So what do we have? Say we have a bag, okay, which can hold 15 kgs of material. Okay. And these are some materials given here. Okay. So each of them has a weight and they have a value. Okay. Now obviously you can't take all the items in the bag because there some will be 20 kgs. So you can take at most 15 kgs. So your aim is to choose a subset of items here such that such that you maximize the value. Okay, the value means the sum of the money, like here dollars, right? While maintaining the weight constant. Weight constant means the sum of the weight should be at most 15. So suppose you take say these four items, okay, this and this. So what will be the value? So value will be 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 10, which is 15. Okay, so it will be $15. And what will be the weight? So 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 4, which is 8 kg. Okay, so which is less than 15 kg. So so this is one feasible solution. Okay, so you can try all possible combinations, and then you get a subset which maximizes the value which you get. Okay, so that's the original knapsack problem. Now, in say you in real world, okay, in real world you may not know the actual value, this particular value. Okay, these values, okay, these values might be hidden. Okay, so maybe the owner of this item, okay, there might be some owners, okay. So owner might know the value, okay. So owner might know the value, but it's hidden, okay. So you don't know the value, but you want to pack as many valuable items as you can. Okay. So obviously you would like to ask the owner, okay, so like what is the value of this item? Okay. So can someone tell me what kind of problem I might face if I ask the owner directly? Like, tell me what is the value of this item? Can someone attempt like what kind of problem we might face here? You can even type. Yeah.
We can't be sure that the owner is telling the right value or not.
Yeah. That's the main problem. So that problem is known as preference elicitation problem. So forget the lingo and all. What all it means is that, so just a second. Yeah. So owner knows value. Say the value is say V. But if we ask the owner might say some other value, say V dash, and V dash need not be equal to V. So that's the main problem which we have here. Okay. So we have to design some kind of game, okay, so that and design a game and its rules such that the owner in a way is sort of forced to tell the true values. Okay. So they don't have any incentive to hide. Okay. No, like not tell you the true values. So you have to design an environment. So in real world examples, you have many such thing. Like intuitively, you might like if that guy says the correct thing, you might give him some money, and also all those kind of real world examples you have. But mathematically, you have to develop some model. Okay. So this is what. Yeah. So basically, your entire say mechanism design will be revolving around making the agents. So game theory has players or agents. Okay. So your entire mechanism design will be revolving around making the players say the truth. Okay. So they have a hidden value, and you have to make them say the truth. Okay. So this picture in a way describes what we are going to do. So we'll go through it slowly. So this is a very simple model actually. So there are higher level stuff compared to this, but since we are just looking into introduction, let us have a look at the simple model. Okay. So the value which I was talking about. Okay. So that is, you can mathematically you can say that is theta I. So player I has some value which is theta I. So this theta I is unknown. Okay. But what we know is that this small theta I belongs to some larger set, say capital theta I. Okay. We know this particular thing. Okay. We know this. So say in the previous example, say we don't know the value, but we know that this value belongs to a particular set. So the value might belong to the set 1, 2, 3, 4. So that much we know, but we don't know exactly which value it is. Okay. So each player has this set and has this value. Okay. So each player has this thing. And there are n players in total. Okay. So these are like game theory lingo. You might like read, like you might see it, or you might just consider it as a set. So I'm not going to tell you lingos and all, but these are there for your reference. Okay. Now, as we know, as we saw in the previous example, each player might report some value, which may or may not be same as your actual value. Okay. So if you're say if we are looking at a player I, say if its actual value was this, then it might report some value. So this is reported value. So we are not, me as a planner, I'll go and ask that guy, okay, tell me your value. So it will report this particular value, but I'm not sure whether that is the correct value or not. Okay. So each player reports its value. Okay. And that I collect all those values. Okay. Now there are some, there is a set X called outcomes. Okay. So what outcome sort of is intuitively is that I based on the values which I get, I will sort of throw each and every player into some particular situation. Okay, so so what that situation can be like. Okay, so to give you more intuition, so let me okay, so say I am a person. Okay, I went to a shop. Okay, I asked the price of a item. Okay, the shop owner tells me the price. Okay, which may or may not be the actual price, which often happens. And based on the price which I hear, I might decide to buy or not to buy. So this buy or not buy are the outcomes. Okay, so this is the like intuitive definition of outcome. So outcome is defined by a set X. So you have some fixed set of outcomes. Okay, now there is a function f, okay, which we call social choice function. Okay, so based on the reported values which you got, you determine an outcome. Okay, so in this particular context, say if the shop owner tells a very high price, I will not buy. If the shopkeeper tells me a reasonable price, I may buy. So it's that kind of function. Okay, so you have n arguments. So based on the reported value, I'll give an outcome. Okay, and this outcome belongs to this capital set X. Okay, now obviously the players will also come to know the outcome. Okay, so based on their outcome and say their original value, okay, their actual value. So based on these two things, they get a kind of reward. Okay, so that reward is represented by this function u1. Similarly, the second player gets a reward based on the outcome and its value. So this is the reward of player 2 and so on. Okay, every player gets its reward. Okay, so obviously every player might want to maximize its reward in a way, or like improve its reward. So the rough idea would be to give those outcomes where the player will be sort of forced to tell the truth. Okay, like say again, consider for the sake of the example, the shop owner. If he tells unreasonable price, then I won't buy him. So basically, he is not getting any money. So so he'll be sort of getting a reward of 0 in a way. But if it tells me a reasonable price, I may buy it, and then he'll get some money from me. So that is a reward for him. And so based on the outcome and its value, he'll get a reward, and therefore, in a way, he'll be forced to tell the truth. So this is the sort of model, okay, which we'll be following. Okay, so the rough idea, if I would like to provide you the gist, is every player has its value and they belong to some set. Okay, now I go and ask that each of the guys their value. Based on the value, I compute a function f, okay, which is the social choice function, and then I'll get an outcome. And then based on that outcome and the individual values which every player has, each of them will get some reward. So that's the entire model. Okay, so if in case you have any doubt, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can go towards an example where we'll see how this is exactly done, and through that I hope it will be pretty much clear. Yeah. So is there any query? If not, then I'll proceed. So this should be clear. It's pretty simple. Okay. So let us look at a very simple question. So this is called supplier selection problem. So this is very much the shopkeeper problem which I told, but in a small variant way actually. So you have a buyer, okay, and there are two supplier, okay, and say you want to buy some tech stuff, say mobile, okay. So your aim is to buy a mobile. So this guy has a mobile A1 and this guy has a mobile, say some particular mobile, say X, and that can be either A2 or B2. Okay. Okay. So that's the case which we have. Okay. So okay. Now okay. So let us see what possible outcomes are there first. Okay. Just a second. So let us, for the sake of simplicity, keep three different like outcomes. Okay. So say this player wants to buy two mobiles. Okay, two mobiles. So I'll write it here better. So buy two mobiles. So it can buy. So what are the possible outcomes? So the possible outcomes are, say let's say outcome X, which is buy two mobiles from supplier 1. Okay. The second outcome is buy one mobile from each guy. Okay. And the third outcome is buy two mobiles from supplier 2. Okay. Now what's the fun part here? So the fun part is, say the technology A2 is superior to A1 and then technology A1 is superior to B2. Okay. So that's the thing which we have. Okay. Now obviously I would like to buy A2, two mobiles of A2, but I'm not sure whether the guy has A2 or a inferior quality B2. Okay. So that's the dilemma which the buyer is facing right now. Okay. So, and okay, so that's the thing which that's the dilemma which the buyer is facing. So let us have a look at the utility. Okay. The possible like sort of rewards which the suppliers can get. Okay. So just a small note. This rewards basically are not in us, are not in the hands of a mechanism designer. Okay. Okay. But the mechanism designer knows this rewards. Okay. The only thing which is unknown is the exact value or type of stuff which the person has. So say these are the rewards which the supplier can get. So say, so what was X? So X is buying two mobiles from SUP1, Y is one from each, and Z is two from supplier 2. Okay. So U1 U1 is like reward of SUP1 and U2 is reward of SUP2. Okay. So if I buy, say I'm going to buy, so if I buy 2 mobiles from this first supplier, he will get a reward of 100. If I buy 1 mobile from that guy, he will get a reward of 50. And if I buy no mobile from that guy, he'll get a reward of 0. So this is quite intuitive. Similarly, if I buy a mobile, if I don't buy any mobile from the guy too, he'll get a reward of 0. And if I buy 1 mobile from that guy, he'll get a reward of 50. And if I buy 2 mobiles, he'll get a reward of 100. And this last one is pretty interesting. The intuition I'll tell you, but let's see. If I don't buy any reward, and the person has a bad quality of mobile, okay, then he'll get 0. And okay, I should have written here, which I wrote in last slide. So A2 is better than A1 is better than B2. Okay. If I buy B2 from this guy, 1 mobile, I'll get 50. If I buy 2, he'll get a reward of 25. Okay. So it might seem counterintuitive, like if I'm buying 2, why is he getting less reward? So if you think in this aspect, say if I buy more bad products from a particular guy and I don't like it later on, then I may not recommend that guy to that particular shop or don't go to that shop again. So in a way, in long-term future, the second supplier is facing losses in a way. So that's why the utility functions are defined in, so the reward functions are defined in this way. But that these reward functions are not in our hand. Those are the perception of the individual supplier. Now, what is our job? So our job, if you go recollect, okay, is to sort of find a function f, okay, such that the guy, so that those guys are in a way forced to tell the truth each and every time. So we have to sort of come up with some social choice function. Okay. So these are 8. So there are 8 possible social choice function. In short, I'll call it SCF. So there are 8 possible social choice functions. Okay. Why 8? Okay. Now observe that. Okay. As I was telling, supplier 1 has mobile A1. That is for sure. Okay. No change in that. But supplier 2 can have either mobile A2 or B2. So we are not sure which one is it. So we are defining a function like this. Okay. So this has only one possible argument and it has 2. Okay. So we have to define what f of A1 and A2 is and what is f of A1 B2 is. Okay. So again, if I'll write for convenience. So this is the quality of mobiles. Okay. So say if the person supplier 1 reports A1 and the supplier 2 reports A2, then I'll choose the outcome X. So what was the outcome X? Like buy 2 from supplier 1. Outcome Y was buy 1 from supplier from each basically, and Z is 2 from supplier 2. So these are the set of outcomes. So we have here like for F. So why do we have? Okay, how many do we have? 8. Okay. So did I miss anything? Just a second. Okay, I missed one more. So actually there are 9 actually. Just my bad. I missed one thing here. I'll write it down. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I missed this. Okay. So basically, if A1, A2 can take 3 values, if A1, B2 can take 3 values. So 3 into 3 is 9. So these are the 9 possible SCF. Now the question is, which social choice function should we choose so that the suppliers are telling the truth? So you have the rewards for reference. Okay, so let's work out two particular reward function, sorry, social choice function. So this one is kind of a bad social choice function, which I'm going to tell. So here, f of a1, a2 is y, and f of a1, b2 is x. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so okay, so now the question is, why is it bad? Okay, now suppose okay, so now suppose so this is the say supplier 1, and say this is supplier 2. Okay, now suppose so we know this guy has mobile A1, but suppose this guy has mobile A2, B2, sorry, mobile B2, and okay, so this guy has mobile B2. Now think from this guy's perspective. Say this guy says, so suppose the buyer goes and asks this guy, okay, so tell me what mobile do you have? And suppose this guy says, okay, I have B2. Okay, now what is the outcome if he says B2? So the outcome will be f of a1 comma b2, and which is x. Okay, now what will the person get for x? Okay, the second person will get this thing, this much reward, and this reward is 0. Okay, so suppose instead of telling B2, the person lies and tells that it has A2. Okay, then what is the outcome here? The outcome is Y. And what will the player get under Y comma B2? It will get 50. Okay, so if you can see that the person is actually better off lying. Okay, so supplier 2 is better off lying because it will get more reward. So this type of social choice function is called non-implementable social choice function. Why non-implementable? Because our aim is to get out the truth from that guy, but he is better off lying. So that's why it's not implementable. So let us have a look at another social choice function. Another social choice function. So this time, let f of a1 comma a2 be z, and f of a1 comma b2 be equal to y. Okay, so let us consider two cases. Okay, case 1. So the supplier 2 has the mobile A2. Okay, now suppose, okay, suppose I go and ask that guy, what mobile do you have? And it tells it has A2. Say it reports A2. Then what will be the outcome? The outcome will be Z. Okay, the outcome will be Z. Okay, and what does it get as reward? It gets 100 as reward. Now suppose it tells lies, so it reports B2. So what will be the outcome? So outcome will be Y. And what will be the reward? So this will be the reward here. So it will be 50. Sorry, sorry, not this one. This one. This one will be the reward. So the reward will be 50. So so this will be the reward. So just one caution, like as I told. So for determining outcome, you should use reported values. For determining reward, use actual values. Why like this? Because the buyer is going to report the outcome, right? So sort of determine the outcome. So it knows the reported value. So it will determine its outcome as per that. But the reward is going to be determined by the supplier, and it knows its own value, actual value. So it will calculate as per that. So this is the thumb rule which you should follow. So if you see that here, reporting the truth value gets you the more reward. So hence the supplier 2, if it has mobile A2, it will tell that it has mobile A2. So it will report A2. So in case 1, we are fine. Let's see case 2. Say supplier 2 has B2. Okay. So suppose if it reports B2, so what is its outcome? So its outcome is Y. And what is the reward it gets? It gets a reward of 50. Suppose it reports A2. So what outcome does it get? So it gets Z. Okay. And what is the reward in that case? So the reward in that case is actually U2Z, B2. Okay. Remember, as I told, for determining reward, you should use the actual value, and that value is 25. Okay. Okay, there's some issue here. Just a second. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So the reward. Okay. So I'm having some problem to write, but yeah, as you can see, the reward in this case will be 25. Okay. So so the 25 is kind of bad basically, because if it sort of tells the lies, then so if it tells the lies, then it will just 1 second. Let me go into present mode. Maybe there I can write. Sorry for the inconvenience. Okay. Yeah. Now I am able to write. So so here the reward is 25, and yeah, and so this reward is less than the reward which it would have got by actually telling the actual thing actually. So this is so here also the person is better off by telling the truth. Okay, so that's why this function on overall is quite good, and we call such functions as implementable. Okay, so you can use this social choice function to actually get out the truth from those guys. Okay. So here is a list of all social choice function. And here it tells whether it's implementable or not. If it's implementable, it means that you can get out the truth. So as an exercise, you can just try to work it out and check whether it's actually implementable or not. Okay, so we can, okay, so I'll end this talk. So I just wanted to keep it a short talk today. So we can end this talk by just asking some few questions. I'm not going to deep analysis because I'll finish it by 8, but just asking some few questions which I would like to know your opinion. Like, what's the actual thing? Okay, so say you have an item, okay, and you have, okay, let's make it more interesting. Okay. Okay. Say you have an IPL player, okay, and you have the 8 teams, okay. So like just for I just drew 4, but suppose you have the IPL teams here, and you know that auction takes place, okay, and so whoever bids the highest gets the IPL player, okay. So let's take a simplistic view of that. So let's, okay, so let's assume that each team will write its bid in an envelope, sealed envelope. So nobody gets to know the bid of the other teams, and it submits the bid, okay, to the auctioneer, who is basically conducting the auction, okay, and then the auctioneer will just open and check which team bid the highest, and it will give the player to that particular team, okay. So that's the strategy, okay. Strategy is give the player to the team which bid the highest, and obviously charge that much money, like charge the money which the highest bidder bid, okay. So so this is the strategy which you usually see in IPL. So I would like to know your opinion that is this a very good strategy? Like, say I want to sort of say, okay, this guy who is conducting the auction, okay. So that guy actually wants to know like what would have been the actual bid, okay, from each player, or there is some survey guy who wants to know what these teams actually value this IPL player for. Okay, maybe team one, say Mumbai Indians, they value, say here say who came, like say AB de Villiers came, because next year we'll have this open auction. Say maybe they will not send AB de Villiers. Let's say consider a reasonable player. Maybe say let's consider. Maybe say let's consider KL Rahul. Maybe they will release KL Rahul from Punjab if he's not performing well. So say Mumbai Indians, CSK, KKR, RCB, they are there. Say Mumbai Indian values this guy for 7 crore, CSK 6 crore, KKR maybe 5, RCB maybe say 5.5 crore. But their bid might be different from the others. So Mumbai might bid him for say 5 crores. These guys might bid for 4 crores, might be 3, might be 2. Okay. So this survey guy wants to know these actual values. Okay. So in that case, do you think this strategy that whichever teams bid the highest gets the player and they have to pay whatever they bid, is this strategy good? Just I want to know your opinion. So can someone like unmute themselves and try to give yes or no, or just try to give their intuition why it won't, or like
I think no.
So any like intuition, like why this won't allow those guys to tell the truth?
Maybe when there is actual bidding, then the price can go higher than what they are writing.
No, but we are not doing the bidding which happens in IPL. That is sort of a different type of bidding. Like there you see that okay, that guy is bidding for 3, let me bid for 3.2, and it raises on. But here you have to write your bid in an envelope and submit that envelope. So you're going to bid for only one time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So like any guesses why it may or may not work? So you told the correct answer, which is it will not work. But uh, any intuition like why it may not work?
The teams want that player, and they don't know other team what other teams are bidding, right?
Yeah.
So they would try to make such a bid that that will be higher than all other teams. So they would just make the maximum they can. So
Huh.
that won't be the actual value of that player, which if that this was not the case. So
Yeah,
mm,
that's true. But okay, I should have told you one thing, like just for mathematical simplicity. Say, I guess you guys studied probability and statistics. At least it's there for everyone more or less. So, so say these values were uniformly sampled. Okay, like just like these guys are not doing any planning. It's just they uniformly sampled a number between say 0 and 10, and they got 7. This guy got 6. This guy got 5. This guy got 5.5. So, so what happens is basically, I'll not give you the mathematical analysis here, but what happens is, okay, so these guys will try to sort of get the okay, so what they would try to do is they would try to raise their expected value, which we get. So what is expected value? So the actual value minus the money which you paid. Okay. Okay. So this is the thing which they would try to maximize. Okay. Now what happens is if you do the maths properly, say if you just consider two bidders, okay, two bidders. Okay. You just consider two bidders and you try to do the maths. Like you okay, so both of them have a value theta 1 and theta 2, and they are sort of uniformly sampled from this interval 0, 1. Okay. Now now both both the guys will try to maximize their expected value, okay, which is say their actual value minus the money which they paid, which is theta cap. Okay, so when they do these calculations, it will they'll get that if they pay theta 1 by 2. Okay, so if they pay half of what their value is, then they'll get the maximum expected reward. Okay, I hope you know what is expected and all. In probability and statistics they should have covered it. So if they do the calculations, I'm just telling you in a very high level manner, but in a way if you think that, say if Mumbai Indians values KL Rahul for 7 crores, if they pay 3.5 crores, okay, then expected value of them getting KL Rahul, the expected value will increase actually. So at 3.5 crores, they'll get the maximum value, which is 7 minus 3.5 in a way, like 3.5 crores, and some expectations will be there. So so the expected value will be highest if they bid 3.5 crores. So that's this thing. Okay. So based on this information, can you tell me one strategy which will make the players tell the actual value? Okay, like just try to have a guess at a strategy. Like obviously you will give, okay, you will give the player to that team which bids the highest. But how much money will you charge so that they actually tell the truth? I know I'm not asking for any mathematical analysis, but just tell me your guess. Like, okay, so suppose Mumbai Indians. Okay, so suppose Mumbai Indians bid the highest. Okay, so they bid X. Okay, so how much money should you charge from Mumbai Indians? Okay, how much money? So any guesses? Like how much money should I charge so that they give me the highest value? They actually tell their bid to me, like actual value. Like they tell me that okay, I'm bidding 7 crores. So any guesses?
The half of the
Yeah,
X by 2.
half. Yeah. So say Mumbai Indians, if they bid 7 crore and they win the bidding, ask them to pay 3.5 crores. Okay. So in this way, what will happen? If you do the mathematics again, your expected value will maximize if you tell the truth. Okay. So if you tell the truth, your expected value will maximize. So that's a very upper level idea, but so the way the auction happens is actually not the right way. That auction should happen in this way, that okay, you give me a bid and the guy who bids the highest will charge him half of that money. So that is a good strategy actually, in order to make the guys tell their actual bid. Otherwise what will happen, as someone said, they'll try to tell less value. Okay, and then actually I'll not get that much money relatively, if you see. Like, just I'm telling you vaguely, but yeah, that's the more or less the thing. Like in real world, auction doesn't happen in this way. Auction happens in the way you see in IPL. Like one team will bid, then the other team will bid, and so on. So in that case, what happens is, say one team stops at 6 crores, I can just tell 6.5 crores and I'll come off. So Mumbai Indians are saving 0.5 crores here. Okay, so that's the rough thing. So this is called auctions, and auction is a very huge part of mechanism design. Okay, and you might wonder where it is used. All your Google ads and all of them use this mechanism design to throw this ads at you. They target ads at you using mechanism design. Okay, so you might not know all these things are going behind the and YouTube's thing, but it happens. So it's very good to know about all these things. So I did not want to dig deep today, like confuse you guys with terminologies, lingos, and all. Just wanted to keep it simple. So I hope you guys like today's this session. And yeah, next week will be the last talk. That will be also mechanism design in a way, but it doesn't involve any reward. Okay, so that involves like you have say 100 boys, you have 100 girls, you want to get them married, and it should not happen that if they're getting married, they just leave, they break their marriage and marry someone else. So that thing shouldn't happen. So that's the rough idea of the next week's talk. So I hope you guys attend. And again, thanks a lot for attending today's talk. Yeah.
I had one doubt.
Yeah.
So if this better strategy is available or better way is available, then why the auctioneers are not conducting the auctions in this way, and why they're holding?
Okay, so like okay, here see what is our aim here. Our aim is to know the actual values. Okay, that's our aim, right? But uh, auctioneer's aim might be something different. His aim might be to get as much money. In that way, then we have to do a different analysis. So so that's why I used this surveyor guy example. That guy wants to know what's the actual value. Like I gave an example of auction, but it might be useful in some scenarios to know the actual values which they have in mind. So so that's why. So your mechanism designing will change from your aim. So what you want to achieve, from that thing it will change. So so that's the rough thing. Like obviously there is huge mathematics behind all these things, So that's, I didn't want to dig deep into that, but that's the rough idea which I gave.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So let me stop the recording.